If you are unsatisfied with where your real estate business is at today, then this video is for you. We're gonna be going over how to successfully build pillars of business, lead pillars, so that your business can grow organically, linearly at first, and then hopefully exponentially like a hockey stick. This is Danny Gould, selling Silicon Valley legendary agents. This morning I was on a call with my team and we were discussing pillars of business and what pillars of business even mean. So when you think about building a structure, you build it with pillars, right? So if you want to build a solid foundation, solid house, solid business, you have to have pillars of business. And the more pillars you have, the more solid the foundation is. It's natural. If we only have one pillar, we're not going to have a really solid business, right? Because at any moment in time, that one pillar can give out. So great salespeople, great business people, I should say, because salespeople aren't always great business people, but great business people understand that the more lead sources we have, the more pillars of business that we can pull from, the more stable the business is going to be. And chances are the more deals, the more business you're going to do, period. So what is the difference between an agent doing 50 deals a year from the agent doing 5? Well, the agent doing 5 probably only has one pillar of business and they're probably not working it to the best of their ability. The agent who's doing 50 has probably 10 pillars plus of business, 5 to 10 pillars plus. So the golden rule, having studied agents and team leaders and brokers and broker earners, all that good stuff, having seen the most successful people in this business, what I know, the principle that I know to be true is that the agent who is looking to do $500,000 or more in GCI should have 5 pillars plus of business. Now, if you are only interested in doing like a couple of deals a year, you could get away with 1 or maybe 2. If you want to do consistently a deal or 2 a month, you want to have between 3 and 5 pillars of business. But if you are looking to reach that massive agent level that, several of us, I'm sure, who are watching this video are looking to achieve, you got to have those 5 pillars plus. So this is what I would invite you to do. I would invite you to assess your current business plan and figure out, if you're not where you're at right now, what are my true pillars of business? And by the way, pillar does not mean interest. Pillar means commitment. Committed action on a daily basis, year in, year out, no exceptions. What are the pillars of business that I have been fully committed to or would like to fully commit to? Because there's two things, right? What are we doing right now that's working? And what do we need to add in order to get to where we want to go? Now, one of the words of caution that I threw at several of the agents on my team, because I know that we as real estate agents, we have a lot of creativity. There's a lot of expressional, artistic people in real estate who get shiny object syndrome very, very easily. And so they get presented with the flavor of the month, the Baskin Robbins, it's 31 flavors. Oh, well, this month it's like reels, oh, well, XYZ brokerage, everyone there does reels. And so they all get rich doing reels. We should do the reel. Okay, well, then you do a couple of reels and you don't get any deals from it. And so you're like, yeah, fuck that. I'm going to go on to the next thing, and so on and so forth. And so it can get really disheartening because we fall into the trap of the shiny object syndrome when if you had just stuck to the business plan, you would have had a lot more success. And so I would invite you to obviously always be on the lookout for a good opportunity to take your unfair share of the marketplace by implementing something and being an early action taker on it, but be very careful and make sure that you are filtering through and not just consistently jumping from one thing to the next without truly vetting it and making sure that A, it's a good use of your time, and B, that it's something that you can commit to and that you are comfortable with and that you're good at. Or maybe not that you're comfortable with, but that you could be good at with enough practice. So when we're looking at those pillars of business, the next step is figuring out, because we don't want to do it all at once, figure out how many pillars do I have right now that I'm consistent with? Do I want to keep it where it's at, or do I want to double down on this pillar and have it go from providing me with maybe 5 deals a year to 10 deals a year? Because you could double down on, say, open houses. If you're only doing 4 a month and you're like, hey, I want to double down on this. Awesome. Well, if you double down, you should get double the results, maybe even more, because with more practice and more repetition comes better results. So double down or stay where it's at, and then figure out how many you're at right now. And if the answer is I have 5 pillars of business already, but you're only doing 10 deals a year, you're lying to yourself, actually. because if you have 5 solid pillars of business, you should be doing 25 deals plus a year. So you have to look at your actions and see if they're actually mapping to a committed action. You have to figure out whether or not your actions are commitment based. Like if they're like, oh yeah, I'm doing this and I'm committed and I'm doing it consistently at a high level, or if we're just kind of dabbling in it and we're counting it as a pillar of business. So a golden rule, very easy to follow, right? Is like 1 pillar should equal about 5 deals a year. Like 1 pillar with a decent consistency and a decent commitment, you could expect about 5 deals a year. So 1 should equate 5 deals, 2, 10 deals, and so on and so forth. So if the math isn't really adding up for you there, and your commitment, your actions, and your pillars are out of alignment with your production right now, what you've estimated, then we need to go back to the drawing board and figure out where that disconnect is. But once you get to that point, the next step is going to be, which pillar am I going to add next? Which pillar am I going to add after that? And which pillar am I going to add after that? Okay. And doing it in that way prevents us from getting that overwhelmed feeling. Right? So perhaps right now you are at 2 pillars and you're like, hey, I'd like to be at 5 pillars by the end of the year. Awesome. Well, I've got great news for you. Q2 is right around the corner. So let's start now and make the next pillar the Q2 thing. And we're gonna go all in on that one and maintain the other 2 pillars that we're working on. And then Q3, if we feel good about, we've built out some good systems and we've worked out some of the kinks and everything, let's say if it's marketing based like postcards or what have you, or social media posting and all that good stuff. So once you feel like you've got that consistent, then the next quarter you add the next one, and then the next quarter you add the next one. And then by the time you know it, you've grown your pillars from 2 to 5. Now, the best agents understand that like there'll never be enough pillars. As team leader, I know that like I'm always looking for new and novel and interesting ways to bring more business opportunities to the company. But here's what I know is that very few agents master at least 5. So many can do 1 to 2 very well, but very few get to 3, 4, or 5. They might trick themselves into thinking, yeah, I have 5 or more. But the truth is that very few agents can get to that 5+ level. And so my word of caution would be, make sure that when you are going in on a pillar, it is something that you know you have the skill set for, okay? Or you are committed to doing the action and building your skill set at the same time. What do I mean by that? Expireds. If you are like, oh, I'm gonna do expireds this year, right? Like I'm gonna add expireds as a pillar. Okay, well, do you actually have the skill set, right? Because I've seen many agents just bang their head against the wall over and over and over again. And it's like, dude, you're putting in the action, but it's like, there's no skill. And so especially when there's sweat equity involved, a lot of the sweat equity is dialogue based, it's script based. So make sure that we have that solid skills foundation. And if there's marketing involved, you have to make sure that the systems are in place to receive the inbound marketing and that there's a system in place for the follow-up too. So there's a lot of moving parts to all of this. It's not just like, hey, I'm gonna film a couple of TikToks and all of a sudden I'm gonna have a fuckload of business. No, let's get smart and let's treat this like a business and make sure that when we're adding a pillar, we are committed to it, we're consistent with it, and we have the infrastructure and the skills necessary to really play full out with that pillar. This is Danny Gould, everyone. Selling Silicon Valley, stay legendary, everybody.